Ladies and gentlemen, happy Stranger Things Day. It is November 6th, 2024, and today we are going to be talking about some of the craziest Stranger Things 5 predictions. I asked over 100,000 people on my Instagram what their craziest Stranger Things 5 prediction is, so I'm going to go over about 20 to 25 of them and give you my thoughts on what I think about the prediction and what I think is going to happen. So before we get into the video, guys, be sure to drop a like and subscribe. Let's go for 200 likes on this video. Join my Discord down below where we have over 1,100 members. And just be ready for some more Stranger Things content because I got some things cooking for the month of November. I'm super excited for it. And without further ado, let's get right into the video. The first prediction I read was 11 is going to die. Now, obviously, this is a very popular prediction, but what do I think of it, and do I think it's actually going to happen? Well, first, let's talk about the ways that she could die in Stranger Things Season 5. Number one, she could easily sacrifice herself for the group. That's an easy thing to justify when making this prediction, that 11 is going to sacrifice herself for all of her people that she loves, basically her family. When she's fighting Vecna or when she's closing the gate to the Upside Down, whatever it may be, it is very simple to see that 11 might just sacrifice herself for the group, for Hopper, for everyone she loves. And the second option is she could just simply die fighting Vecna. Vecna is by far the strongest force that they have fought, and she could just be overwhelmed by the amount of power that she's exerting that she could die fighting Vecna. So what do I think about this prediction? Do I think 11 is going to die? I do not think it's likely that 11 dies in Season 5. Number one, she's one of the biggest characters in Stranger Things, so that's like the main point, but also I think it's more likely that she loses her powers or Hopper sacrifices himself for 11. So let's talk about those 2 points separately. She could lose her powers just because she uses all of her energy to close the gate, and then once that connection from the Upside Down in the real world is gone, maybe she just loses her powers because she used so much energy. And Hopper could sacrifice himself for 11 because he doesn't want to lose another daughter. As you guys know, Hopper lost Sarah when she was a child fighting cancer, and I'm assuming Hopper is going to have flashbacks of Sarah, and he's going to remember, I don't want that to happen again, so he could sacrifice himself for 11. So in the end, I definitely think it's more likely that 11 lives rather than dies in Season 5. Prediction number 2 is that Will Byers and Lonnie are going to have their first interaction in Stranger Things. I don't think this will happen, but I would love it. Honestly, I just don't see Lonnie's actor returning to Stranger Things. He hasn't been in the show since Season 2. But if he did return and did have an interaction with Will, I could see a situation where Will is getting possessed by Vecna and then confronts all of his bad memories, and Lonnie is in that memory. Or Lonnie just somehow simply shows up in the real world and confronts Will and Joyce. I don't know, but I would love to see Lonnie return because I feel like that would add an extra dynamic in Season 5. But then again, it's the final season, so they probably don't want to bring back another old character. The next prediction is Steve will sacrifice himself for Nancy Wheeler. If Steve dies, I think this is the most likely scenario for him. We know their lives are going to be at stake all of Season 5, and there's going to be a lot of action sequences. And one thing we do know as well is that Steve is going to be working with Nancy and Jonathan. So not only could I see him sacrifice himself for Nancy, but I could also see him sacrifice himself for Nancy and Jonathan. If they get into a situation where they're shooting and they're in the line of fire, Nancy and Jonathan are in danger, I could definitely see Steve sacrificing himself for those two. Or a situation with Vecna, I could definitely see him sacrificing himself there as well. Steve is on this weird island where he's not really connected with anyone right now, and it would be a very depressing death, so I think it definitely could happen. Prediction number 4 is that Dustin will get possessed by Vecna because he is weak emotionally from Eddie Munson's death. Number 1, I hope this does not happen, but I do think it is a possibility because what we do know from Vecna's history is that he goes after the characters who are very weak emotionally, who are depressed, who are having mental health problems. Vecna goes for the weak. And if Dustin is still weeping and mourning Eddie's death and taking it really hard in Season 5, maybe Vecna views that as a weak link. Now, I do think Dustin will be mourning Eddie's death in Season 5, but I think enough time will pass that he's made amends with it and he won't be that weak emotionally. So I don't think this is going to happen, but I wouldn't be totally surprised if it did. The next one is Vecna uses Sarah and Hopper's ex-wife to get into Hopper's head. Obviously, Hopper has a lot of regrets with his ex-wife and with Sarah. It was portrayed in Season 1, Episode 1 that Hopper was the reason why his ex-wife and him broke up, and he took it really really hard. So if Vecna really wanted to get into Hopper's head and crack and break him, it would definitely be a good idea to use Sarah and Hopper's ex-wife to do that. But I think so many things will be going on in season 5 that Vecna's not just going to focus on one particular individual. I think he's more likely to focus on the entire group and try to take them down all at once, which I think in the end will bite him in the butt. 11 was cast the entire time, and she will defeat Vecna once and for all. So I don't think it will be revealed in the show that 11 was actually cast, but I think from a viewing perspective, just from us, I think we can all agree that she kind of was cast, like undeniably, because when she was in the lab, she was Vecna's one's right-hand man, pretty much, and that's what Cass was to Vecna in D&D. And in D&D, Cass ended up stabbing Vecna in the back and defeating him. And I think that's what we're seeing right now in Stranger Things. 11 is now stabbing Vecna in the back and going after him, and is ultimately going to defeat him, in my opinion. So yeah, I agree with this prediction, but I don't think it's going to be revealed in the show that 11 was specifically cast from D&D. I think we're just seeing it play out that is pretty much the case. Dustin will prove that Eddie was innocent. No, I don't think this will happen. I think that there's going to be so many action sequences going on. I think there's going to be so much damage to Hawkins. I think there's going to be so much fighting, and the kids are going to be hiding from the regular people, from the government, all this stuff. I don't think there's going to be any time for him to prove Eddie was innocent, unless at the very end he's still alive and that everything has calmed down and Hawkins went back to normal. Maybe then, but I think at the end they're just going to be happy to be alive, and that's not going to really be a focus point. Like when I think of Stranger Things season 5, I think immediately of like constant action, constant death, scary moments. I don't think Dustin's going to have the time, or unless there's a massive time jump, like I said, I just don't think it's possible that he's going to have the time where he's just going to say like, yeah, Eddie was innocent, this is why, blah, 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 blah. Like, would they even believe him? Would the Hawkins residents even believe him? Unless they find out about like Vecna and all that, I don't think there's any way that they would believe him. The final countdown will play for the final scene in the show. I hope this happens so much because we know that season 5 of Stranger Things is going to be based in 1987, or at least part of it will be based in 1987. In 1987, the final countdown, the song, released. I mean, could you just imagine them fighting like the Mind Flayer or Vecna or like a 3-headed dragon at the very end, and the final countdown is playing? The final, and they're just like fighting this massive monster. 11's doing powers. All the kids are like throwing spears, or like they made this like manufactured thing to like a big slingshot or something to fight the dragon, and it's just like this massive action sequence, and the final countdown is playing in the background. I mean, that would legit be my dream scenario for the end of Stranger Things season 5, or at least the last action scene. That would be unbelievable. So I hope this happens. I don't know if it will happen. I just hope it does so much. Like, we have no idea what songs are going to be in the show, but I think it makes perfect sense for the final season, the final scene. Might as well put the final countdown in it. This is a very depressing prediction, but they said Steve will die near the kids and say, "You don't need a babysitter anymore." Oddly specific and oddly depressing. So I said before, if Steve dies, he will most probably sacrifice himself for like Nancy and Jonathan, or just Nancy. But there is a scenario out there where he could sacrifice himself for all the kids because he was the babysitter. It's like a big thing in the Stranger Things universe. It'd be a very sad death, like I said. It makes sense to kill off Steve because it'd be a very depressing death, but also a very like impactful death. If he dies near the kids and actually says, "You don't need a babysitter anymore," I don't know. I don't know what I would do. That would be one of the most depressing scenes of all time. I think it's unlikely that happens, and I hope it doesn't happen. Murray and Karen will bite the dust is another prediction. I think this is probably likely. Karen just makes sense to die because all of her kids are in danger. If she's going to get involved, she could easily get in the way and make the wrong decision and die. And with Murray, he's just a character who's, like I said, not really emotionally connected with anyone, and is an easy death to happen. Like, it's an easy kill off in my opinion. And Murray's sort of like a fan favorite, so why not kill Murray? It'd be an impactful death, and at the same time, not that depressing of a death. It'd be like a heroic moment in my opinion. So I hope Murray dies, and I think Karen could die. The next prediction is just insane, and it's just 2 words: everyone dies. Everyone dies. I mean, I hope not, but I guess in the very end of it, there's a scenario where everyone does die. I do not think it's going to happen at all. I do think there's a scenario where like 5 people die, and it's like 5 main characters, like we did not expect it at all, and everyone's just, sobbing, and it's just insane. But everyone dying, I don't think so. Max is going to team up with Vecna. So there is a theory out there that Vecna is going to get into Max's head and basically possess and control her like he did with Will in season 2. And that Max would get on Vecna's side and then she would be sort of like the mole in the group and give Vecna all this information to kill them. I've always loved this theory because I think it would make the stakes that much higher in season 5, but I hope it doesn't happen. And also I think it's more likely that Max is just in the hospital bed for most of the season until the very end, until they defeat the connection between the Upside Down and the real world, and then she wakes up. I think that's way more likely than her being possessed by Vecna and being the mole in the group. This next prediction is what I mentioned earlier. 11 loses her powers permanently after saving the world. In season 4, there was a massive storyline at the beginning of the season where 11 just wanted to fit in. She wanted to fit in as much as possible, and she couldn't use her powers, but she just did not fit in. She didn't fit into the real world. She cried to Mike about it. She's like, I'm not fitting in. I'm not like these other people. I have powers. I'm basically a superhuman. So I think there is a scenario where she saves the world, uses all of her powers, and once that connection to the Upside Down in the real world is gone, I do think there's a scenario where 11 loses all of her powers and can live a normal human life. But I also think there's the other side of it where 11 lives a superhuman life and she's always been a superhero and she was born to save the world and she keeps her powers. Either one, I would be okay with. As long as she lives, I would be okay with it. Stranger Things season 6 will be coming is the next prediction. No, I do not think this will be the case. However, I do think we will get more Stranger Things content as far as TV shows and movies go. I think there will be a lot of spin-offs about Stranger Things. The Duffer Brothers have mentioned on multiple occasions that they want the Stranger Things universe to rival the Marvel universe. And there's already spin-offs in the work, like the anime spin-off. There hasn't been any live action spin-off announcements, but I hope that happens in the future. And at least 6 to 7 actors on the main cast have already said they would be down to be in future spin-offs. Sadly, Millie Bobby Brown and David Harbour have not said they would like to be in spin-offs, and more than likely they would not be in spin-offs. But I don't think season 6 is happening, but I do think spin-offs are going to happen. The next prediction is Joyce and Hopper will get married. I think this would be a great final scene to the show if everyone lives, or at least most people live, having them getting married on like the mountain where they were walking up at the end of season 4. I think that would be great, a great scene to end off the show, and a very emotional scene as well. Obviously the kids have gotten the hints that Joyce and Hopper are finally together and they're finally like dating and everything. I think it would be a great way to solidify the show, solidify the marriage, the relationship, and have all the people come together for basically a family reunion to end off Stranger Things. It was all a D&D game. I think this theory has already been debunked by the Duffers, so no need to worry. 8/Callie will return. I've made theories about this. There's theories all over TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter about it, that Callie will return and help 11 defeat Vecna. There's also a theory where Callie will return and help Vecna defeat 11. I do not think Callie or 8 will return. I don't think it's likely, but I think if she does return, she will be on the good side of things and try to redeem herself and help 11 defeat Vecna. I definitely hope it happens, but like I said, I don't think it will happen. I think it's more unlikely that we just don't see her anymore. Maybe in a flashback, but I just don't see her having a massive role in season 5. The last and final prediction I will be talking about is it was Susie all along. Now, in my opinion, this prediction is just ridiculous, but there is that theory out there that in season 4, Susie's house with all of her brothers and sisters literally foreshadowed the season 4 storyline. So is Susie the mastermind behind it all? I don't think so, but hey, you never know. There have been some crazy and insane predictions about Stranger Things season 5. I just gave you my opinion on at least, I think, 15 or 20 of them. There's about 100 more I could go over, but most of them are just like, is 11's going to die? You know, this person's going to die, this, that, and the other, talking about theories and whatnot. So I just wanted to go over the unique ones mostly, and let me know what you guys think about all these predictions. What do you think about my opinions? Do you think I'm crazy? Do you think I'm realistic? Let me know in the comments. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like and subscribe, turn on notifications. Like I said, join my Discord, check out my website where I have my newsletter, and I do Stranger Things newsletters over there. And most importantly, just have a great rest of your day. Happy Stranger Things Day. Share it with your friends and family. Get other people to watch Stranger Things, because when season 5 comes out, it's going to be one of the greatest seasons of television ever. And I'm saying that in full confidence. I 100% think that is true. Like I said, I appreciate you guys watching, and make sure to have a great rest of your day. Peace out.